do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the English war bow, how it's made, the techniques of shooting it and how it differs with a modern longbow. The first thing you'll see that it doesn't have any handle or anything like that. It's not really necessary, it just means a little bit of extra work for the bowyer. But once you're finished with this, once you've run out of arrows, it's a pretty useless item. Yeah, you could hit someone with it, but really it's not going to do a lot of good. The primary difference between this and a modern longbow or a modern target bow is basically the shape of it and how it works. I've got one just here, and if you look at it, the first thing you see is this raised piece here. Now this is called a stacked handle. It's a Victorian invention really, and it was designed for very stable target shooting. The working part of the limb is about here either side, so it doesn't bend through the handle at all. So it's very stable in your hand. The working part of the limb only is here. The draw length on a bow like this is not very high. The performance on it again is not very high, simply because you're not using the full length of the piece of wood. This one, however, it bends completely throughout its whole length. The skill in making a bow like this is in the tillering process. The tillering is making it bend evenly all the way across. So when you get to the tips here, there's no more stress on this tip than there is in the centre. It's equal throughout its whole length. This is a piece of yew. This bow was made from a piece of Italian yew, which is high altitude. It's the type of yew that would have been used in the Middle Ages. We used to import this yew from all over Europe, but primarily Spain, Portugal and Italy. The best yew was Portuguese or Spanish. However, we were, as a country, England was always at war with these countries, and very soon the Spanish and Portuguese realised that what they were doing was arming us. So they stopped it and they burned all their yew forests. The Italians, however, didn't really care, so they were happy to let us have it. This type of yew is incredibly dense. It's not like lowland yew, which grows very fast. English yew is not that great for making longbows because we've got perfect growing conditions. This grows at 800 to 1,000 metres altitude, and this particular piece is half the tree, so this would be the actual log. If you look carefully here, you can actually see the pith line. This is the centre of the trunk. However, even though this is small, this is over 200 years old, this tree, and the growth rings are so dense and so hard, it makes for a perfect bow. The technique to shoot a bow like this is really all in, and it is a technique. You do not have to be massively strong. You've got to be able to take a certain amount of the weight. This particular bow is just over 120 pounds, and that's at a 32-inch draw length. So we're not pulling to here like you would with modern archery or modern target archery. You're pulling right back behind your chin and right back to behind your ear. Now most men nowadays couldn't move a bow like this. First of all, they wouldn't have the muscle structure or the tendon structure to do so. You have to work this slowly and build the strength and build the body so it will actually take the weight. The technique to draw a bow like this, it's all in the shoulders and the back. You have to be able to get the bow moving first of all with your arms, and once you get to that point you can no longer pull anymore. You then take over the shoulders and the back. The other very important thing about shooting a bow of this weight is this arm. This is the arm that you're going to hold all that weight back with. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is to lock this elbow. If you do that, after 2 or 3 arrows, you will damage the elbow joint. Having 100+ pounds pushing back on this joint will damage it. So you have to keep it very slightly bent. So all of that weight is being held on this muscle here. That takes a long time. This is the hardest part of it. I'll briefly show you, I'll give you a demonstration about how to draw it. And it is really all about drawing the bow high. You don't pull it back like this. You're going to pull it back high here, and when you get to there, you're going to rotate the shoulder, push the chest in, and take all that weight on your back. So I'm not going to shoot the arrow, but I'll show you. So it's going to go high, there, and then round. And once you get to that point, you can lock the shoulder blades together, and you can control it. So it's high, up, and then lock. then you can take the shot. Now this particular bow, as I said, is only around about 120 pounds. This is not really a weapon that they would have took to war. This is about the minimum weight. A boy of around about the age of 14 or 15 would be required to shoot a bow of this weight. The bows that came off the Mary Rose, which are the only existing longbows which were made for warfare, I've made a couple of replicas of them, and they weigh anywhere between 150 right through to 180 pounds in draw weight. The actual draw length that we use nowadays is a 32-inch draw length. So what you've got on an arrow like this, between the base of the nock here and the start of the arrowhead, is just around 32 inches. So you draw that right back onto your hand. However, the arrows that were found on the Mary Rose, the majority of them were 30 inches. So you're not drawing as far. But the bow weights being that much higher meant you could send that projectile at a very high speed and do incredible damage with it. The arrow itself can weigh anything from 3 to 4 ounces, and when that's travelling at around about 180 to 200 feet a second, which is equivalent to around about 170 miles an hour, it's going to hit with force that really no man can stand. If you took the arrowhead off this and shot it at a man, it would take him clean off his feet. We did some tests in England with a pig with a breastplate on and a gambeson underneath. We took the arrowhead off and we shot at the plate. Obviously we had no penetration, but when we opened the pig, the spinal column was shattered. So that shows you the shock force that goes through the body. So you don't really have to be stuck, this doesn't have to stick in you to put you down. And a man on horse coming towards you at approximately 15 to 20 miles an hour increases that power that it hits. So you'll take a man clean off his horse with one arrow, and once he's down, then you can just take him apart. So really it's all about power. You get the power from the belly of the bow. This is the heartwood of the bow, the dark wood. This particular one is from a male tree. The male tree is a darker colour red. And the sapwood on the back, well, you'll find a lot of bowyers will tell you that it's absolutely necessary to have this sapwood. And it is if you're using wood from America or even from England. Low altitude you will always need this because this is stretchy, whereas that compresses. So together you've got a perfect natural spring. However, with this type of wood from high altitude, you do not need this sapwood in place. There was a bow found up in the Tyrol between Italy and Austria, which is around 5,000 years old. It was found with the Iceman Ötzi. This bow has no sapwood on it whatsoever. It's made inside out, so the back of the bow comes from the centre of the tree. After making a replica of the bow, it came out at around about 150 to 160 pound draw weight. The thing that was very interesting was that the people at the museum in Bolzano suggested that there's no man who could shoot a bow of that weight. However, when they looked at the x-rays of his wrists, the tendons here were 3 times the size of a normal man. However, he was only this tall and tiny. Also, which was a little bit interesting, I suggested to them, well, why is this man in the mountains with a quiver full of arrows, a bowstring and a useless stick? It didn't make any sense. But as I say, it's designed for one purpose, this. It's designed to kill. It's not a hunting weapon. It's designed to kill people, and that's what it's for. That's the difference between this and a recreational longbow. These are a lot of fun, but when you've got one of these in your hands, you feel very safe. And I think that'll just about do it. Is that okay?
That's very good.
One more time.